welcome to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode number 72. And the title of this episode is The Economic Collapse is Inevitable. Now, yesterday I was supposed to do a report, but I was having technical problems with my laptop. Hard drive went down. I had to rebuild the entire thing, and that's why I couldn't do the report. So what's going to happen is I'm doing the report right now, which is episode 72. The news brief that I usually do on Saturday, which is today, will not be done. So the next report that I do will be on Monday. So that is the schedule right now. And let's go over why I think the economic collapse is inevitable. But before we begin, let's talk about the current economic collapse news. I mean, on Friday we saw the Nikkei futures. It continued its plunge. It went up a little bit, but it's still down. And I noticed that the stock market started out down again, but using the plunge protection team, all day long they were pushing it back up. And it's amazing to me that everything else around the world can be down, and we always seem to end up on a positive note on Friday. But that's just observation. Just watch every Friday. You will see, even if it's in the negative, for some reason, somehow, it will always get to the positive on Friday. Even if it's +1 or 0, it will always get there, the stock market. So, let's see. They're telling us that we're in a recovery. Everything is fine. The stock market's going up. There are no real problems. But, we see in Japan they're having problems. We see across Europe they're having problems. And there's a report out that more Italians in grave economic conditions. The Italy's national statistics released a report that at the end of 2012, around 15 million people were dealing with some form of economic hardship. And the report added that over 8.5 million of those people were living in seriously tough economic situations. So basically we can see from Italy, Greece, Cyprus, Spain, Portugal, here in America, none of this is reported in the mainstream media. Nobody hears about this. Nobody knows about this. And basically, they are just covering this up and reporting on ridiculous stories that means nothing, because the news should be the news that reflects on everyone and what's going on, not that there was a convenience store robbery downtown someplace where it doesn't affect anyone. So all of this real news is being pushed away, so nobody realizes what is going on. Now, there was an article that says there is now a 100% chance of a market collapse, which I completely agree with. There is a 100% chance. And they're saying that the junk bonds have never yielded less than 5% annually, but they do today. The difference between the yield on junk bonds and the yield on investment grade bonds, has almost never been smaller. That means credit is more available today than almost ever before for small, less than investment grade firms. The last time credit was this widely available and at such low cost was in 2007. And you know what happened in 2008, 2009. And it goes on to say that the collapse of the bond market is going to be far worse than it was last time. The Federal Reserve actions have driven forward the huge bull market in bonds. The Fed is printing up almost $100 billion per month, and they are not going to let up on this printing, even though they keep putting out like we're going to taper off, we're going to hold back. They are not. They are planning something by telling us this. They want us to believe that the economy is doing much, much better. And I saw an article in the on Market Watch saying that Ben Bernanke dares people to get into the stock market. I wonder why he has to dare people to get into the stock. Does he want everybody in to push this market up even higher so they can pull the rug out and everyone just loses everything? I mean, it's just a very strange statement to say that, trust me, get into the market. Well, we trusted him back in 2007 when he told us the real estate market was fine. That it was, wait, what was the word he used? Contained. Subprime is contained. He doesn't see a bubble in the real estate market. He doesn't see a bubble in the stock market. He doesn't see a bubble in the treasury bond market. He doesn't see anything. Or does he? He wants everybody in because this is what he's being told to do. All right, let's move on here. Now, the former White House aide proposes cyber attack campaign on Syria. Now, isn't America complaining that we're being attacked by cyber attacks from all these different countries, and they want to use it on Syria? And we know why they want to use this on Syria, because they need to get us into a war. This is a way to provoke them and to get them to do something against either Israel or the U.S. And I wonder, I mean, there was really the reports that came out about how the internet went down in Syria. It just, something doesn't smell right there. And now this comes out that we're going to do some cyber attacks. I mean, was that a test? Was that something like, let's see if we can bring that down? And now we can go ahead and we gained access into their system. I mean, think about it. It was just a couple weeks ago that happened, and now all of a sudden we want to do a cyber attack against Syria to provoke them into war. Do we already have access? Do we already have worms set up? Do we already have a way to really attack them from the inside out now? And these are the things that we need to be watching, because I believe something will be happening there and something will be happening here. Now, Israel is reporting that Syria is attacking their water system. And the chairman of the National Council for Research and Development said that Israel critical infrastructure such as electricity, water, and stock exchange undergo hundreds of cyber attacks every minute. So they're having the same things here. And if you notice, all these countries use the same thing, that water, electric, the infrastructure is being targeted. So we are going to see something very, very big soon. I mean, Israel is setting this up so they can start a war. They're going to have a blackout. America's going to have a blackout. Everyone is going to basically have a blackout, and World War III is going to start. Now, that doesn't mean that they won't try other things first to see if they can do it without doing the main cyber attack, but they're building this up as their last event to really bring it home. So we do have other false flags, potential false flags, I should say, coming up in the near future. We have the one in New York with the chemical drill. Israel has a chemical drill also happening. Here we also have the march on Washington with Adam Kokesh, and now he's calling for everyone in the 50 states to march with loaded weapons on their capitals. And I believe this is a potential false flag. This way it happens all across the country. And I said there was going to be an event about gun control, and this really looks like it's fitting into this, because all they need to do is plant some agents or people into these marches, have them start shooting, and the government, the military, which just declared that the Pentagon can send in armed troops without the approval of president or governors and control the situations. So it's strange how that law came out. This march is happening, and we can see how this is all fitting in together, and how this is not going to be a good situation, because these infiltrators into these into the groups, will start something, will start the shooting. The military forces will come down hard on all gun owners, and this will paint a picture for finally, across the country, for them to pass the pending legislation to get the gun bills signed, UN Arms Treaty and the Feinstein gun bills, and whatever other gun bills they have. And before you know it, guns are being taken away from the American people. And I said to you, when this happens, you know we're getting closer and closer to this collapse. So we need to watch this. Now, California Assemblyman says the Second American Revolution has already begun. And you know something? The government has already started the revolution, because they have already put into place all of these laws like the Patriot Act, NDAA, the Miranda exceptional rule, creating the DHS, having the military allowed to use force on American soil without approval from governors or the president. And basically, from all of this, they already have been putting in place because they expect something to happen. And I completely agree with that. Now, basically, Sheriff Mack is holding a peaceful. He's from the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, the CSPOA, on May 31st to June 1st, meeting in St. Charles, Missouri, and it's the Heartland of America Conference. The purpose of the conference is to equip sheriffs, peace officers, and public officials with information and public support to carry out their oaths of office, specifically to uphold the U.S. Constitution, recognizing that in the case of federal overreach, the county sheriff may be the last line of defense in protecting Americans' constitutional rights. And they are putting this together. It is peaceful. They're trying to teach everyone across the country that we have taken an oath to uphold the Constitution, and we, the people, are the Constitution. We are the ones that have to enforce it on the government. It doesn't work the other way. The government doesn't enforce it on us. We enforce them to follow the rules. And when they don't, they are removed. That's the way our founding fathers set it up. They were very smart in the way they did this. They gave the power to the people, not to the government. If we let the government have the power, that's a different story. But we, the people, have the power. Now, there was an interesting video that I saw, and I put it on Sentinel Alerts, from Maxine Waters, confirms Obama has a Big Brother database, and they've been collecting and keeping information on everything, as we see from the IRS. And this will be very, very damaging. And it's not just Obama. DHS with the fusion centers. Again, I said, DHS is not for terrorists. This is for tabulating and collecting data on Americans. So when the time comes, they know who to round up. They know who are the people who are going to give them trouble. They know where to go and get these people. And this is what they're using all of our money on us. That's basically what they're saying. Now, a while ago we talked about armed domestic drone strikes in America, and Rand Paul asked a question, and we knew the answer that Eric Holder gave was a bunch of bullshit. We know for a fact that they are going to use armed drones on the American people, because Eric Holder only said that that they will not use armed drones on Americans that are not in combat. And it's a play on words, because when people are defending themselves, okay, those are people are considered in combat. So basically, it's a play on words, and they will be using armed drones, and it's completely, when you hear it, it's funny when the news and politicians, they always like to use and confuse people with words, and when you first hear it, you say, oh, okay then, and most of the people go, see, he said he's not going to use it, but they're thinking in different terms than the everyday person. They're thinking on, listen, if there is some type of revolution or something does happen, then we have to say that we will not use it on Americans that aren't in combat. But they know what's going on. Now, the everyday person doesn't realize that something is going on in America, and there could be one day coming soon where Americans might be in combat. There might be skirmishes of people in combat, not because the people started it, but because the government started it and they're defending themselves. So, and this article goes on to say that Holder is going against the major promise by the FAA official who promised that no armed drones will be flying on domestic soil. But don't worry, Holder says the government has no intention right now of issuing drone strikes on U.S. soil, just like the government never targeted Constitution and conservative-based groups through the IRS and would never use domestic drones to spy on you. Quite simply, if any power is given to these individuals in government, be sure of one thing, they will use it. And I completely agree. Now, again, I do not go along with Adam Kokesh on this march. I mentioned this earlier before. He's declaring an American Revolutionary Army to march on 50 state capitals. Our founding fathers did everything. Now, if he wants to march and protest peacefully to raise our concerns, I don't have a problem. But we do not go with weapons in an armed march. We try to work with the government, and we try to voice our concerns so they can see that people are not happy. And now the next step is we need to vote all of these people out of office. And when I mean, it's very simple, everybody. When the election time comes, nobody vote. Nobody vote, or we do not vote for Republican, Democrat. We vote for the candidate that we want. Completely different. Get rid of the Republican, Democrat Party. Boom, gone. We need people in there for we the people. We need a president for we the people. We don't need people that are taking bribes, who have insider trading knowledge, who are the rich, who work for Goldman Sachs, who work for Israel, we don't need these people. We need people that work for we the people. So we need to do this in a peaceful way, and I'm not really, I don't believe it's time to march with weapons, and this seems like it's a complete setup. Now, how do I know that the economic collapse is inevitable? Because President Obama is following the Cloward-Piven strategy. And I'm just going to read some of it to you of what it is. And here it is. Basically, the Cloward-Piven strategy. Create ever-growing constituencies dependent on the government for their livelihoods directly through entitlements, social safety nets, government suppliers in the private sectors. And basically, the Cloward-Piven strategy is how to bankrupt the country and have a collapse. Regulate, tax the private sector into submission. Healthcare, banking, small businesses, real estate, autos, and demise while legislating demand to their crony capitalist supporters. Politicize control the allocation of credit, mortgages, student debt, consumer financial. Control the public schools and teach dependence, childlike trust in government, and that you are entitled to something for nothing. Healthcare, food, pension, disability insurance, shelter. And and teach them not to think for themselves versus conventional schooling of self-reliance, ability to solve problems, logic, importance of hard work, reading, writing, arithmetic, and lessons of history. Now, I told you in the last episode that my children received Project Sentry, where they're going to teach the children how guns are very bad, that you should report people to guns. I'm actually having my children attend because I want them to take notes and report back to me of what exactly goes on in this program. So I will have that information on this because they're going to give it to me so I know what is said and what is going on. I already told them what to expect when they go, and I want to see what they see, and I want them to see what the government is trying to do. So let's move on forward here. Create growth in government and its obligations that compound faster than economic growth and tax receipts. Debase the currency to impoverish the middle class and create desperation and create I'm sorry, I lost my place here. Debase the currency to impoverish the middle class while removing the obligation to pay for the benefits. Have government programs written to law which consume more than they produce, impose large new costs of the public and private sector, destroying profitability. A large part of the funding has not been identified, so it is pay as you go. And all of this leads to a national bankruptcy as funding runs out of control and the printing presses continue to print, and substitute this for real income growth and declining tax receipts. So basically this is showing us, and I believe this was created back in the 1960s, and President Obama and the administration, they are following this. He has completely taken our debt load that we see from when he started, which is 10 trillion, all the way up to 17 trillion. So from the time he took office to now, the debt has increased by $7 trillion. And that is in 4.5 years. We hit 10 trillion from the time from basically, what was it, 1913 till now. So what was that, 100 years? I'm sorry, in 96 years. And in 4 years, we've done 7 trillion. So what do you think is happening here? We are headed for this collapse. Now, I wanted to point out one thing. Because of the Fed and what's going on, and everyone's expecting the collapse, I was thinking about this, and I think we are going to see a decline in the stock market, but I don't think it's going to be the full collapse first. I think it's going to be a shock to everyone, and the market's going to go down like 800 to 12 to 1,400 points. And it's going to wake a lot of people up, and those who are the elite are going to make a fortune off of shorting the market because they know when it's going to happen. And I believe it's going to happen in stages, like boom, it's going to come down. Because if you look back in 2008, the market came down, it went up a little bit, people were shocked, people made fortunes, and I think we're going to see that in August, September. And a lot of people are going to lose their wealth, and this will allow them to put even more laws in place for the next big collapse that will happen about 4 or 5 months right after that. That's when the big one is. So this will allow them to implement a lot more laws, to do the bail-ins and things like that, because we need this to save it. Now, it wasn't a total collapse. It was a short, flash collapse, like we saw in 2008, where they need the bailouts. And I believe they're going to do the same thing, because if you look at the market, it didn't completely collapse until 2009, when it really just went down, 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 down. And I think that's what they're trying to do right now. They're trying to have this pre-collapse happen so they can implement the laws and see how that goes. Will people accept the bail-ins at this time? And I think that's where we're headed. Now, you guys can comment and let me know what you think about this, but I think it's going to, come down. They're going to come out with, well, there are no more bailouts, so we're going to do the bail-ins. We have to do this to save the country, or the market will go down further. They will enact the bail-ins from that FDIC Bank of England document. They will also, with all the false flags, try to get us into war. And if this doesn't work at this point right here, 4 or 5 months later, that's when we'll see the major false flag of a cyber attack, and the entire thing will come crumbling down. But they're going to try to enact this to see if they can kick the can down or get this a little bit further out. And I like to see how this is going to play out, because I believe this is what they're going to try to do. And this is what all this talk about is, tapering off, and we're not going to do it. And oh my God, look, we couldn't taper off. We have to print some more, and the markets will go up again, during this time. But the collapse will happen, for the main one, right after this. And we're going to have to really watch out for this, because I do believe that this is what they're trying to do right now. Listen, everyone, be safe, be well, and especially be prepared. And if you want to comment on this on YouTube, on my site, on the X22. You don't have to sign up on the X22 site to comment. You can just do a comment. It goes in. I look at it. I get a lot of spam. I get about 50 comments a day just on spam. So I will go through it. If you're real, I will post your comment. Everyone, have a great weekend. And for those people in America, have a great Memorial Day. Thanks a lot.